All right, so today I want to cover sales because a lot of people struggle in sales and they don't know what to do or how to close people. So I think Anthony's supposed to come on a little bit to help us give some sales closing skills, but um, I think I'm an okay closer. Anthony's just better than I am, and I'm okay to say that. So a lot of people struggle with closing, and um, we're going to cover some tips and tricks, and hopefully, some people can provide input on tips and tricks they have for closing. But I would say the very, 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 very most important thing is confidence. Confidence, confidence, confidence. Confidence takes you a long way, and it solidifies that you're serious. And as long as you portray that confidence through your conversation, it can really help you get sellers or any type of sales to convert. It's crazy how it works, but just being extremely confident helps out in sales. And I think it's the most important thing. It's not, there's no bulletproof saying of, hey, if I say certain things or certain words or phrases, it's going to make people sell to me. It's, I think confidence is the most important. Um, this is kind of we'll kind of leave it open to other people in discussion. If you guys are having struggle in certain areas in sales, if you have a current situation, you need help in a current deal you're working with, let's bring it to the table and let's kind of work through it and different techniques you can use based off of your situation. So I'm going to kind of jump into the first one. We're just in Milwaukee a couple weeks ago with Junior and Ray, and we're talking about how Ray was struggling to Ray was struggling to figure out a way to convert this sale that he had, that it was possibly a creative finance deal. Junior, do you have an update on that deal by chance?
Which one?
The deal we talked about in the hotel room from Milwaukee.
Oh, the one he wanted 250 down? Yeah, no. I don't remember what he said, the last thing he said.
Okay.
And we just talked about it like 2 days ago, and I don't remember.
Way to go, Junior. Way to go.
Yeah, no shit. Hold on, I want to look at my notes. Hold on.
Okay. So synopsis of it is that the seller wanted too much, and he wanted to create a win-win scenario for the seller. And the I think the resolution we gave him, and he did a lot of the front end work. It was just figuring out the final details. You got it, Junior?
Yeah, I remember now. So we ran comps, and he was wanting, I think 600 with the house, but the lot right next to it, I think he had like 79 acres or 80 acres, and the one right next to it was 81 or 82 acres that had just recently sold, but it had sold for 300, and he wanted 600. I'm like, bro, it doesn't make sense. So even if we do creative, like it wouldn't make sense for us to get it. So yeah.
That's new information. That's new
He wanted
information.
he wanted like 250 down,
But
250,000 down. I'm like, yeah, no.
yeah. Okay. So part of sales process is making sure, especially with real estate, is making sure you have a deal and making sure you can possibly make a deal. But for that one, we're trying. You have to really build rapport with your sellers, which is, I think, is probably step number 2 in sales, is building rapport. And this Ray did that very well. He knew a lot about what was going on with that property, and he told us literally A to Z what's going on and what he wanted. It was just the price was too high. So there's a lot of underlying things you have to build out just by having conversations. So I think the first thing is confidence. The second thing is building rapport and understanding the situation, because this type of sales we do for real estate is all about understanding their issue or pain. And we had a conversation with Junior about this, is that we're problem solvers. So we talk to people and we deal with people that have problems. If they don't have a problem, usually we can't provide a service. So we're only looking to people that have problems, because that's what we are. We help solve those problems to help facilitate a real estate transaction. So, and that's good when you go through that whole report process. That's where you get that understanding of they have a problem, what problems you can solve, and how you can help them take it to the next level. You know, so I would say, what did I say? Oh, competence, rapport, asking for the sale. Simplest form is ask for the sale. If you don't ask for what you're trying to buy or negotiate, you'll never get it. Never, ever, ever. So ask for the sale. A lot of people struggle with, they'll go through the whole process and never make an offer. So you got to ask for the sale, you got to ask for the business. Even if it's a low offer or a high offer, just making an offer will help you get to the next stage, because there's actually a conversation going on of what price point makes sense. So going back to Ray's situation, went through the whole process, made an offer or got the offer out of them first. And now we're able to figure out if there was a resolution for them to make that sale. So there's a lot of underlying things when it comes to sales. And it's just going through the process and understanding that when we're, especially a real estate wholesalers, that we're trying to solve problems. Anthony, you want to hop in right now as far as different problems you solved and how you solve them? I don't know if he's available, or Junior.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually love sales, man. The sales psychology. I have a sales background, and I did sales professionally for a few years. And then, of course, I think in life, we're always selling, right? You're always selling somebody on something, your wife and your husband on where to eat, what to do for fun, your friends on where you're going to go hang out, what you want to do this weekend. We're constantly in a sales psychology environment. So it is about give and take, understanding, like you're knowing your own worth and what you can provide and bring to the table. Like Daniel was saying, that if somebody has a problem, we can provide a solution. And then sometimes, I think it's even not necessarily about solving a problem, right? Sometimes you can just provide a cool solution to somebody that for a problem they didn't even know they had. So I think also knowing your worth, right? So I'll give you, for instance, on this sub 2 house we closed this week. The seller was like, we were negotiating at the kitchen table for 4 hours, right? And this is like over a 2-week process, but we're sitting at the kitchen table for 4 hours straight. And the seller was, she was kind of back and forth, like, I don't know if I should do it, and I don't know when I'm going to see money, kind of that thing. And I was getting to the point to where, like, if she didn't want to do it, or if she didn't understand a certain part of the transaction, I was just going to walk away. So I told her, I said, if you don't have that warm and fuzzy feeling right now in the pit of your stomach, I'm going to leave. Like, I'm out of here. Like, I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. I'm here to help if I can. And if not, then I'm just going to go ahead and pick up and head out. I'm not going to keep hammering on the person or try to convince them. So I think knowing your worth, knowing what you bring to the table is huge. That's a big part of sales. So I think that's all we're doing in this business, is just finding out where we can provide some sort of solution to the seller. And if you're not a good solution provider, then I think that's where some people struggle. But then also, if you don't have enough leads in the pipeline, then that's another place that you could struggle as well. So I think when you're leading your business with marketing and you have a lot of leads to look at, you'll tend to find yourself in a better sales positioner. So it's just, the analogy I use is kind of a crude analogy, but I think everybody can relate. It's kind of like dating. So if you're a man or a woman that has a lot of options, it seems like your relationships are kind of easier, as opposed to maybe being with somebody who kind of doesn't want to be with you. Or if you only have one person to choose from, right, then we tend to get needy, and the other person can feel that, like, for some reason this person's very needy, like they want a lot out of me, maybe more than one person's willing to give. And I think that's what we do in sales, is if you're doing high volume marketing, high volume lead generation, then you tend to find yourself in easier deals more often, because you're just cycling through more opportunities. You want to chop them off? Okay, thanks.
So, one of the funny things, what's funny, he says that. So a lot of people overcomplicate sales on that side too. So I actually was in Steve Chang's training course, and he's like, the difference between people that do a lot of transactions and people that don't is they have more leads. That's it. It's not that they have better negotiators, is that they have more leads to cycle through and more leads to close. So as long as you understand that, like, hey, if you're struggling to close deals, you need more leads. That might be your issue. It might not be sales. It might not be any other underlying factors. You need more leads. So definitely don't take that lightly. So it's huge opportunity when the right person comes along your path that actually needs to sell. You'll have a better chance of closing them if you have more leads to go through. And the other thing is that there's always more leads. Me and Anthony kind of alluded to it now, is like, if there's no warm fuzzy feeling, we're walking away. And sometimes when you say I'm going to walk away, they'll pull you back in because they really need you in that transaction. So just by understanding, like, hey, I got more leads to work that actually need my help, and telling them that, they might pull you in and like, yeah, I need your help too. So there's a lot of give and take when it comes to negotiations that that can really help boost it. I've heard Anthony. I went to San Antonio. I want to say it was like 6 to 8 months ago, and I was with Anthony, and we went to go sign a contract with the seller at IHOP, and I think he hard closed them, where we're like, he really pushed away. He's like, hey, if you don't want to send this paperwork, we'll just go ahead and leave. And he's like, no, I'm ready to sign. I'm ready to sign.
Yeah, he wanted to have his attorney review it, and I said, yeah, that's fine. And I think that's kind of where the magic happened, is he was kind of pulling away. So instead of me continuing to hammer on him, I said, yeah, you know what, don't even sign it today. Take the paperwork with you, show it to your attorney, make sure everything looks good, make sure you're happy with everything. And after that, we kind of forgot about the contract. We sat and we had lunch and we just talked and we caught up. We found a bunch of similarities. And at this point, again, I think some of the biggest sales I've had so far in real estate has been when you completely forget about the sell. Like, I'm not just here just to get a deal, just to sell. Like, sometimes you got to put that aside. And I think that's what we did that day better than anything, is we were just talking like guys, assuming that nothing was going to get signed. And when we were getting ready to wrap up, the guy says, you know what? And he takes the paperwork out of his jacket pocket and he put out a pen. He just signed it right there on the spot. So I think, yeah, knowing when to push and when to pull. And I think too, like, it's always not about necessarily about getting to sell. Part of being a solution provider is knowing that you're not the best solution every single time. So, and I tell that to sellers all the time. You know what? And I actually heard Pace do this before, but I was doing it long before I even knew who Pace was, where he says, I'm probably not going to be the buyer for this house. And just let them know that right up front. Like, based on everything that you told me, I'm probably not going to be the buyer for this. I can connect you with another buyer, or I can give you some other excellent resources that probably help you along the way, but I might not be your guy. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. And I think what that does is it brings the person's walls down, because they know you're not just like a money hungry, like an investment shark, where you're just there to just win every single time for yourself. You say, hey, if I'm not the best solution provider here, I can introduce you to the best solution provider for your specific situation. And I think that's where a lot of magic happens in what we do. And again, if you have scarcity, if you're not working on a lot of deals all at the same time, it's harder for you to get those words out of your mouth, to say, you know what, I'm probably not your guy. And when you're comfortable saying that, people really appreciate it. And then you're also not using it as a sales tactic, right? You're being very genuine, saying, if I'm not the guy, I can introduce you to the guy. And so then I've had people come back in and say, well, you know what? I appreciate that, but I want to do the deal with you. I said, well, you know where my number is. That's all I can tell you. And they've agreed at sometimes a lower number. One time I got a house, it was a $750,000 burn house. And I was 30,000 lower than his highest bid. And he still went with me. So, the guy wasn't hurting, and he wasn't any kind of like financial like problems, but he was really well off. The insurance had already paid him. And he's like, I just want to do the deal with you. And I think that's just being genuine, just being, somebody that can help no matter what. And then letting them know right up front is like, I might not be your best guy for this.
Yeah. There's so many stories that come up when we talk about this, and it's this. I think the biggest thing is having that conversation with the seller. Like, if you can understand what their pain point is and really understand it, like, hey, we can help solve this issue if you can go with us. It might do wonders for you. Junior, do you have any sales tips you'd like to give? Because I know Junior's a master closer here too.
No, dude. See, to me, I always tell everybody, just have a conversation. Everybody overthinks a lot of shit. Like, why? Like, why are you overthinking? I'm like, well, what if I say this and he might say this? I'm like, you haven't even asked. How are you gonna know? So just go have a conversation. Go with the flow. Go Go based on what he's telling you. Find out their pain, everything. It's like I have this guy that's 18-year-old. He's like, he's always overthinking it. I'm like, why are you overthinking it? You haven't even asked the question. You haven't even gotten on the phone. You're already scared of asking.
Yeah.
Just have a conversation. That's it. That's all I do.
So I have a opinion that maybe you guys can let me know, but do you guys run comps and try and figure out as much as you can before you talk to them, or do you wait for them to tell you?
I do it when I'm on the call.
Okay.
Just to me, I think it's a waste of time. Like you can run numbers and everything, and then by the time you call, you're like, oh, I decided to keep it. I'm like, what the hell was all that shit for?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's good practice when you're first starting out, but like when you're wasting time by doing all this research and then you don't even talk to them on the phone, or they don't answer the phone, or they hang up on you or something like that. It's like,
yeah.
It's not even.
That's why I just call. If they say yes, then I'll start running numbers. That's it.
There you go. Yeah, a lot of people struggle with that one too. Like I said, the reason why I asked is because I had the call recently with somebody like, oh, I need to run numbers on this. I'm like, have you spoke to them yet? No. I'm like, why are you running numbers yet?
Now, if you already talked to him and you told them that you were going to call him back, then yes. Then make sure you run the numbers and know your numbers before you call him again.
Yeah, but not on the opening call.
No, not on the opening call. No.
Yeah, it's very, very, and you can just by doing that you'll save your time, because like while you're researching that one property, you could have made 10 phone calls or 15 phone calls. So you're just wasting precious time where you actually could have used that for prospecting versus just looking into the property. It's huge, 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 huge. Hey, Steve Anderson.
What up, dude?
Steve Anderson's a killer in Cali. What's some sales tips that you could give in a few sentences?
Honestly, man, I mean, collectively, what everybody's been saying, have a conversation. Don't be afraid to push them away if it's not a good fit. A lot of the times when we hop on the phone, especially like right now, so like we've kind of switched up a lot of things, as I'm sure like I've told you, before, but we're marketing a little bit heavier now back in San Diego again. And, having conversations with people in Cali versus, Midwest and, all that kind of jazz, it's a different conversation to have. So I'm finding myself, if, let's just say we have a high equity, absentee list, right? Which right now, I mean, is kind of a tough one to hit in Cali. Let's say we're calling somebody like that, my approach to them is going to be a lot different, because like, I'm going to most definitely let them know, how the market is. A lot of them tell you right away. And granted, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people run into this too, but they tell you right away. They say, well, I'm not desperate. If you're looking for somebody desperate, I'm not the guy. I usually tell them right off the bat, I'm actually, that's funny you say it, because I'm not looking for anybody desperate. All right. Who I'm looking for is I'm looking for the people that actually, that are in your shoes that don't have to sell. And that kind of blows their mind, because they're like, they're waiting for guys to offer them 50% on the bat. So, instead of me just immediately saying, hey, I'm looking for, this, or if they're not at 50% of market value, then it might be over. I kind of just switched up like that. But anyways, long story short, I'd say don't be afraid to push them away, just like the other bro was saying right now, and having a straight conversation with these people, man. The scripts, sometimes, like even for my team, if they're new, I'll give them scripts, but I tell them, hey, this script is not for you to go word for word. This script is for you to learn the structure of the call, right? And make sure that you don't sound like a fucking robot, because with a lot of these bigger markets, dude, as soon as they hear that, you're done. So find your voice. I think is, the newest part, other than that, piggybacking off what these other guys said, is, find your voice. You got to find what works for you. And you got to sound like yourself. How I'm talking to you guys right now, minus most of the cuss words, depending on who I'm talking to, I sound exactly the same, right? And that doesn't change for whoever, I'm speaking with. Maybe I'll slow it down, or I'll speed it up, or I'll be more blunt, So, learning how to mirror people and finding your voice, I think, is probably one of the biggest challenges I see a lot of people having.
That's awesome. So let me ask you this, or this is for anybody, but do you guys take a direct approach? Like if somebody's going through like a pre-foreclosure or tax foreclosure or something like that, do you like, hey, you're tax delinquent?
I usually don't do that. I usually don't do that right away because a lot of people are in foreclosure, pre-foreclosure. You know, it depends what stage they're at in their pre-foreclosure. And you know what I've been finding a lot too is depending where you're pulling your data, you might be in the wrong zone, my friend. So what I mean by that is, you know, I've talked to people that, you know, maybe they were in pre-foreclosure, but they're not anymore. Maybe they were tax, you know, the thing is, even with taxes, and this is something we found out a lot, is that, you know, it's easy to be put in a spot where you're on that tax list. And you're doesn't mean you're completely like a 100% default either. You know, you could be put on that tax list by missing, you know, one payment or something happened at the recorder's office or at the office, you know, wherever it happens. You can be put on those lists. So they might be old. So I usually just go in, you know, like, and I don't pretend like I don't know anything, but I go in there knowing like, hey, this person might be in pre-foreclosure. And then kind of, for me at least, it's a double-sided sword there, right? You have that backup knowing that they might be in pre-foreclosure. And then another side, you know, you can see who's a liar and who's not. A lot of people, you know, they don't want to come out and tell you that they're in trouble like that, right? And, you know, who knows what they're trying to get away with, so. But yeah, anyways, long story short, I don't go in there guns blazing and say, oh, well, I know you're in pre-foreclosure. I don't, at least. I'm not saying that's the only way, of course.
Does anybody come in guns blazing? By that mean really aggressive on the front end?
I normally don't target pre-foreclosure, so I've never done it. I mean, I let them tell me all the information that I need to know, and I'll go from there. That like if it's vacant, if you still have a mortgage, and they do have a mortgage, and I'm like, okay, are you behind on any payments? And then that's when they tell me everything. But like for me to be upfront and tell them right off the bat, no, because I don't target them.
So it's different approaches. So I talked to Andy Gomez. He's another one of our clients. He targets tax foreclosures like 30 days or less before they hit the foreclosure auction, and he said he goes in there pretty hard sometimes if he has to, depending on if they're like defiant for them on the front step, because he actually door knocks. So for him to get into the front door, if they're trying to push him away right in the beginning, he'll hit him with a hammer. to kind of like, hey, I know what's going on. We need to talk about this. You need to resolve this.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's different approach. I mean, I wouldn't door knock, so I wouldn't know. Like I don't know. I'm just afraid of getting shot. Hell no, I would not door knock.
And
I see the benefit in that, dude, too. Like, I mean, I see the benefit in that shotgun type of approach. I mean, we've done that before. Just more than not, you know, you never know their current situation, man. Like, you know, but if they are, yeah, fuck, man, pull the trigger, I guess. Yeah.
There's no wrong way to go about it. I think
Sure,
is the wholesome answer. There's no wrong way to go about it. Just understand that you have to exercise that muscle. Whether you go in, however you go in, you have to exercise it. And I really like what you said about Steven, was that the script is more of a flow of what should happen and not that you should follow verbatim.
And so too. And you know what though? If they ask me, hey, how did you get my number? Then I'll tell them. I'll say, well, you know, I was looking in the area for you know, any properties that are, you know, either tax delinquent or pre-foreclosure, you know, and yours popped up on there. I'll tell them that way if they ask. That's for sure.
So let's kind of jump into overcoming objections. What are some common objections that you struggle with or you're concerned with going into an appointment over the phone or in person or whatever? Does anybody have any seller objections they're concerned about?
I do. I have a question.
Go ahead, Manny.
Yeah, I've always I've always struggled with the one where I've gone a lot of sellers saying, I do want to sell, but I don't have anywhere to go. And they're older. And they're like, I do want to sell. I do want the money, but I have nowhere to go. Where can it put me? And that's where I stall.
Junior, you have an answer for that one?
What do they need? How much do they need to leave? Where are they planning on moving? Do you need a realtor? Do you want us to
Yeah.
help? Do you need for us to help you find a place to stay before you sell? I mean, you can go either way.
Yeah, but they're in a situation where they can't afford to go to an apartment. I'm in DFW area, and apartments are like they're not used to paying rent right now because their house is paid off, but their house is a mess and they're older. So they're like, I can't. I mean, yeah, I thought about going to an apartment, but the apartment is $1,300. I mean, I'm just what am I gonna go do? Go pay an apartment? That doesn't make sense for me. Or to like a elderly home, you know?
Do they have family they can go to?
No, no family. So I'm like, so I just lose the deal. I'm like, I don't know where you would go then. But they're like, but I would want to sell. I mean, yeah, the price that my house is shit. The price that you give me, I mean, I could probably do something like that, but I can't live. I don't know how long more I have left to live, and I don't think that the amount of money that I'm gonna get is gonna hold me at an apartment. I'm gonna go through that money fast. So I've gotten a lot of those.
Are there any that, for my experienced people, are there anybody out there that's doing like, I don't know, non-profit providing? It would be, I would imagine it would be a non-profit business, and let's say they have connection to properties. I guess you could say they would be creating subsidized living. Has anyone ever heard of like, because as I'm listening to this particular situation, I was just thinking to myself, man, see, these are one of the things that one of my goals is to be able to help people like that, you know, have enough set of homes set to the side that may not and be supported by, you know, of course, the profits and grants, but they would have to be able to come up with something. So I'm not sure if anyone is already out there doing something along that line. Has any of my experienced people heard anything such as that?
The subsidized, it gets kind of difficult because I'm sure there's nonprofits out there, but it's going to be few and far between, and you really have to do the research to find that place. And that where it comes down, like you might have to manual, you might have to do that research to see if there's something like that in DFW. Who knows? There's like the individual nonprofits. I've never heard of any large organization that does that. It's just going to be few and far between as far as what resources they can use, even in that situation. So I have a family member going through this, and they're moving in with family, like Junior said. That they have an older home that they've owned for 50 years, and they're selling it to an investor because it is in such disarray and has plumbing issues and stuff like that. But they're moving in with a younger family member. So there's always when it comes to elderly people, there's always like the nursing homes, the at-home healthcare, and it really depends on their living situation too, because like if their home is in such disarray, because that's the problem with older homes and older people that own the homes for so long, is they can't keep up with the upkeep of it. So the plumbing, the roof, they might be hoarders and might be collecting items, and then now they're actually living in their home is dangerous for them. So moving into some type of assisted living facility might be a better option just in that case. And and every situation is going to be different too, because they might have retirement income, they might have social security income, they might get some other type of income from the state that can help facilitate and transition them into a better position. But it's still going to be individually based 100%.
Yeah. I had another investor, we talked about it, And yeah, I guess I do have to do my homework on that one and have it ready, you know, like an extra tool in my toolbox. Go talk to facilities where I could send these type of sellers, you know, and have like a a counselor talk to them and say, hey, we could admit you here. How much money are you making? Or like how you say they probably have Social Security coming in, they could afford it with that.
Yeah, retirement, Social Security, or any type of investment income they can use
Yeah.
to subsidize. Go ahead, Stephen.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say the same thing, man. Yeah, just depending on if they don't have much longer to live, then yeah, man, they should be looking. And they don't have any family, then yeah, they should just be able to take that nest egg and then be able to allocate it for their assisted living. And you know what? If it comes to the point to where you want to close on that property beforehand, you can always just rent it back to them if the shoe fits, right? You just hold back a certain amount of proceeds until they get out, or until you find them that place. And you can do that too.
Yeah, your contract can be contingent on you finding them a place to go. So you can still sign that contract and move forward, but it gives you time. Like, hey, let's do this contract. I'm willing to work with you on the situation. Let me do some research on my side. Let's get this contract for your purchase price. This isn't the best place for you right now, but let's lock up this contract. And it gives me the ability to help facilitate things on the side, because I have other people I can help too, but I'm not gonna move forward if we're not gonna have an agreement in place.
For sure. And also, dude, at this event that we were at the other week, he had his attorney come by as well and kind of talk to us for a few hours. And, obviously I've thought about it before, but I've never really dived into it. Like, because I talk to, I think we all do. We all talk to a lot of elderly that are trying to sell their house, right? And one just a piece of food for thought. There's not really any natural, step-by-step guidance I can give here because we're looking into this ourselves. But these predatory elderly laws, right? And this is kind of off topic. It might be out of left field, but watching out for that stuff, dude, because that stuff is super risky, man. A lot of people that are elderly, sometimes, man, like, if they don't know where they're at, or if anything can come off misconstrued as predatory towards them, especially if they're that close to being deceased or dying. Just food for thought. Think about that too.
Yeah.
Why don't you give them the best of both worlds? Ask them exactly how much they need to live on, divide that amount, divide the purchase price you have by that amount, and offer them that per month. Let them owner finance the deal for you. You turn around and owner finance it to someone else. If they're going to move into an apartment, you just tell them, listen, the house is $100K. You need $1,000 to live off. It's going to be basically a no down payment, zero interest rate seller financing. Divide that amount by whatever it is. Divide the sale price by the amount they need. You get your terms, your number of years, and just owner finance from them. Turn around and owner finance it to an end buyer at 10% with I don't know, 10-15% down. You got free down payment money up front. You got a big spread of cash flow every month, probably $400-500. The old folks who are you're buying from are happy. They got cash flow that they can maintain themselves with. And they don't have to worry about going to invest it someplace. I mean, they got constant cash flow coming in to take care of their needs. You got the deal going. Your end buyer is happy. Everyone's happy.
That is a great note, Sheik. Very good. One thing to be worried too with elderly people. I actually have two personal stories of this, both in different ways. But one of my earlier deals I contracted, it was a guy. He was 84, if I remember correctly. He was 84. And he's like, yeah, I've owned this property 50 years. It's owned free and clear. He's like, oh, I want to show you the property, because he used to live there for like the first 15 years he owned it. So he loved that property. So he went and showed me the property. And I'm like, like it was kind of in disarray. Like the outside was trash, but the inside was clean. And he almost fell on the steps And I'm like, okay, you cannot come here anymore. And I had to break in the house because he didn't have the key anymore. But long story short is that he ended up, I contracted it. I found a buyer to buy it. I was going to make $25,000 on it. And we're supposed to close on a Monday. The Friday before close, he passed away. So, yeah, I lost the deal. So be mindful when you're dealing with elderly people that they could pass away. And my second story I have for this is I have a seller I'm working with right now. I'm working for the deal for like 2 years, and he's in the 70s. And I'm like, I have to get this deal under contract and some paperwork in place, because if he passes away, I don't want the same thing to happen to me, because crazy things happen when people pass away. And actually, I have a third story for this too as well. This happened just about 2 months ago. I was working on a property here in California, and the seller agreed to owner finance it. Owner financed the property to us with a down payment, because he was older and he was going to flip the property, but he ran out of time and he was just too tired to flip it. So we had like a verbal agreement that he was going to sell it to us owner finance in the next 12 months. It was going to be great. So literally 3 months after we had the conversation, he passed away. So we contacted the heirs and like, hey, your dad promised us this property. He said he was going to sell it to us at this price point, owner finance it. And I think like the wife, she was like, yeah, okay, whatever, that sounds awesome. We'll definitely keep our word on it. Literally a week later, the son came in, took over the whole estate and sold it to an investor. So, and this was like 2 months ago. So, and it's crazy. It's crazy the things that can happen when you're dealing with elderly people. So it's always important to close those deals sooner than later, because you don't know what can happen in the long run, and you don't know what can happen in the long run with multiple transactions like this anyway. It's just that the deals can turn ugly and not in your favor if you don't move fast enough. 100%. So there's 3 different deals right there dealing with elderly people, and one I'm still working, but 2 fell through because they passed away. So quick little tidbit there for everybody dealing with elderly people. Is there anything I see Bob, he's like shaking his head. He's like, what?
Yeah.
I just had similar situation. They didn't pass away, but there was multiple family members. There was 3 siblings, and I got a hold of one of the siblings, and they were elderly. Mom passed away. She was 80, 90 years old. So I'm talking to a 70-year-old man. And I've been driving past this beat up house for years. And I finally decided to, go ahead and make a phone call. And here they live on the other side of the state. And I also have a remodeling business. So I told them, whichever way you want to go with it, if you want to fix it up or sell it, just, we're neighbors. I drive past the place all the time. We had I thought a good rapport going. And he said, yeah, I'm going to be in town in a couple weeks and we'll take a look at it. And I got a hold of him, hadn't heard from him. So a couple weeks goes by, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And I say, hey, how you doing? What's going on over there? And he said, we're going to list it with a realtor. And I was like, man, that's what I get for being patient. I should have been I should have been following up on him quicker. And said, I'll make you a cash offer. What are you looking for? What do you want for it? But I was being a little too chill, a little relaxed, and now it's in the hands of a realtor. So there you go. So anyway, that's what I get. Live and learn. I'll be a little more pushy next time.
Direct is the key. Direct.
That sounds better. Direct. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, missed opportunity is priceless, but it's part of your education. You start learning after a while that it costs you. not doing what you're supposed to do costs you lots of money in the long run. You're like, man.
I know. And now every time I drive past that property, I'm gonna be mad that I didn't call him sooner, or that I didn't, And there was no for sale sign on the thing. I saw a dilapidated, falling down house and some sheds that were blown up sitting in the yard. And, I know what the market's like. I know what the town is like. And I know it would have been, it's probably a $50,000 piece of, it's probably, like a third, quarter of an acre.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I don't even think it's a quarter acre. I think it's 0.17, and it'll probably go for 60,000. But I don't know what it's going to take to get that. It's going to take at least 15 grand to get the beat up building and the sheds, get the lot cleared off.
Man. So I'm going to jump into my deal where the seller died, because I had an opportunity to go see it a few months ago, and I didn't go see it because I was hurt by it. What ended up happening was, it was ARV on this house. It was like a 5-bedroom house. It was like the house we just picked up in San Antonio. It was huge, 5-bedroom, 4-bath, had a basement. Inside was immaculate. Outside was a little distressed, but inside was immaculate. It was a 100-year-old home built in the 1920s, and inside was pristine. And I contracted it for $100,000, and then the seller passed away. And I didn't know like when was too soon to follow up, and I was just scared to, I don't want to be that person being too aggressive by not following up. I looked that up. And this is like 2 years ago. I looked it up. It sold a year later for the same price, and the market went up, as you know, over the last couple of years. So it was probably worth like 350 to 400,000, and they bought it for the same price I contracted it for 100. So whoever bought that house is literally made a killing on it. And I had opportunity, like I said, I had opportunity to go see it because I actually own a house right down the street from it, because it was one of those houses I just drove by, like you, Bob. It was one of those houses I drove by every day. And I'm like, I don't even want to go down there to see my house, because I don't want to pass up this one that I missed the boat on. And they've already owned it for a couple months. So I'm like, it's probably going to be all nice and pristine, and everything I wanted to do with it is going to be done. And I'm hurt. I'm hurt by the situation. So it definitely speed and efficiency. Who said that in the comments? Oh, Christopher. Follow up effectively.
Hey Daniel, I got one.
Go ahead, Wayne.
This one burns every time I talk about it, right? So I was in New York, and I got in touch with a guy who had a property up there. They lived out of state, and they had a Section 8 tenant in the property. So within communication, I went to the property, walked in. I mean, there's urine smell, dog feces, everything, right? But Section 8 hadn't been coming out and inspected. So, they were still living there. She wanted out. She wanted to move out of state. So there was an issue with that. And then Section 8, I think she owed him some money. So I got contracted with the guy because I didn't actually get contracted. So this is what happened. In New York, you can't send the seller the contract. The seller has to actually send the buyer the contract, right? So I spent, I don't know, weeks on weeks on weeks. I mean, I've talked to this guy for over a year, coaching him in how to speak to his attorney to send me the contract. So finally, when I ended up getting him an attorney, right? So we start the process of everything. I find the buyer. The buyer's at like 305, but the buyer's attached to a broker who's trying to get in the wholesaler. So she wanted like 15 grand. So we contracted the property at like 270. I put in a buffer for the Section 8 tenant to give her enough money to move and all this other stuff. And I think I might have been making like 12,000 or whatever, right? So within contracting, the attorney that I hired for him actually showed him the final sale price. And when he saw that price, him and his wife, they were like, oh no, we can get more for the house, blah, 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 this and that. So they never actually signed the contract. So then that happened though was because my buyer's attorney told him he didn't like the deal. And he sent the letter without his approval to the seller's attorney. I mean, the seller's attorney that I contracted for him. So that's how they saw everything. But long story short, I guess they ended up going with a realtor because I couldn't close in that week, and it sat for an additional 4 months. Just sold, and it sold at 15,000 over what I asked, but they had to pay realtor fees, which was about 16,000. So they got less than I would have got for them, and handled all of that stuff in between. So I guess the thing that hurts me the most is I was trying to help so many people and trying to get everything in order for everybody to, see a win in the situation. And then, the greed alone just turned them into, fuck that dude. I ended up losing like 3,500 in the deal.
Man, it happens. It happens a lot. That's crazy. There's the one thing that you got to overcome after that point is that there's always more deals. You can't get hung up on the one deal. It might hurt a little bit even to this day, but you can't get hung up on it, because that's where the real pain happens, is when you stop closing and you don't continue to move on past that. So that's really, really important.
My whole week has been something like that, man.
That's crazy. I know we kind of went off a tangent with Manuel's objection. Does anybody else have an objection that they struggle with or concerned about that they might not have an answer to with dealing with seller objections?
Why would you think that I wanted to sell my property? You called me, so why do you think that I wanted to sell my property? I get that one a lot.
Why?
That's why I don't call, I text.
So that's a good one. And the junior says he texts to get around that. We're looking for people in the area that are looking to sell their property. It might not be you. If it's not you, do you know anybody looking to sell? Might be an easy objection to overcome, but it depends how you called in to get that question, of how that question came about that required that response. So there's I think it's physics, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So whatever you asked up front was what caused that question might be the issue. So it all depends on how you ask good questions, because the way you ask the question is going to bring about a certain outcome in most cases. It's just how you ask versus the question you ask. So definitely a good one. Go ahead, Junior.
No, I agree. It depends. Yeah.
How
you ask it, not what you ask.
Yep. So definitely be mindful of your tonality. Tonality is important, and your confidence. So as long as you understand, and like I think Steven said it earlier, is how fast you speak. So like people that speak really fast, people that operate slower, you always want to mirror how fast or slow they talk as well, because that can show you're on the same page just by the speed of your conversation and your tonality. So there's underlying issues or concerns that could have brought around that question, and it's all based off of your speed and tonality. Good question, Wayne. Good question. Let me see. Anybody else have any final questions or concerns? Thanks for coming on, Steve. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time, man. You contributed a lot to this conversation.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt everybody. I'll have my screen on next time too, but I'll check you guys on the next one. Have a good night, guys.
You're good.
Okay, peace.
We do these calls every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. Mondays and Thursdays are on Zoom, and Saturdays are in Clubhouse. But if you guys have any questions or concerns, please feel free to stop in the Facebook group. If you guys have any deals you need help with, like I said, we're all here to help each other. Go ahead, Danielle.
I know I got one finally. I do need help with because it's actually a deal that I thought it fell through. The lady I personally worked with when I was in Florida, she has property both scattered throughout Florida and Georgia on their commercial lots. So um, I think I hit you up in on Messenger
Yeah, I
about
was gonna look
that.
those up later.
Okay. All right then. But I'm just excited about, I was really excited just the fact that it came around. I really thought it was a done deal. So, but never know. You never know when things kind of circle back around. So that's exciting for me.
That's it. Follow up, follow up, follow up. It's important. We appreciate everybody coming out. Thanks for coming on the Monday call. Next call is Thursday at 7 Central. If you guys have any questions or concerns, need help with anything, feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help. And you all have a great day. Enjoy your day. Thanks for coming out.